Okay, hi there. So, I sent out a tracing of this photo here. See if I can get both of these in the frame. Well, sort of. Let's do it like that, maybe. Uh, I sent out a tracing of this, but this is something that you can draw pretty easily. And I'm going to encourage you to do your own drawing. And so, let's see. First of all, and even in the tracing, I did not put these clouds in because I just don't want lines around my clouds. You know, it's not very believable. Let's look at this photo for just a minute. Let's look at this photo. We have, of course, some whites in the clouds. And we have some whites here in this splashed water, which we could do with some masking on this and do something really exciting. It's nice to divide a piece like this into approximate thirds. I wouldn't get too carried away with that, but in that general direction. And then I notice I've got a row of rocks here, and I've got rocks here, and they're coming right up the middle of the photo. So I've got this dark area coming right up the middle of the photo. I think I'm going to take this rock and I'm going to move it over a little ways so that this kind of breaks up a little bit. And maybe we'll move a little bit of the spray, I guess we would call it, over here. Oh, look, we could even put little dots in there or something. Here's another dark rock over here, and we've got a shadow there that's pretty nice. We could bring some white on over here, or we might keep that shadow and see we've got more shadow over here, and that's a lovely area in the water there. We've also got a little bit of foam out over here that gives us some white. I might make a little more of it, along over there maybe. And then, of course, again, we've got the white in the clouds. Seems like we got most of our whitest whites on this side. Everything's over here leading out to, less activity because you're going out into ocean. So I'm thinking that we can kind of stagger this along and maybe stagger that along, or like I said, have a little bit of whites there. Maybe another light cloud right over here, just to change it up a little. Okay, I'm going to start out. Let's see, I've got this about the same width, and I'm going to make this probably about the same size as this sheet, but we'll see. So let's take it here. I'm doing it this way so that you can see it all on camera. Otherwise, I would have it out where I could see the whole sheet because I think that's preferable. So rather than start with the clouds and up there, I think I'm going to start with this area right here. And I'm going to bring it down maybe just a little further. I'd like to have a little more room for clouds. So I'm going to follow these shapes along here roughly. And I kind of like that. You can see that my line, does my line show? You can see that my line is kind of jagged. Well, that's exactly the way that coastline is. So that's perfect. I think I'll go a little past center here before I come up with the tops on some of these rocks. I don't know about that shape there. There. Okay. And then we need a few more bumps out here in the water. Got to have something for the water to break against so that we can have more foam. I made those two the same height. I don't know if I should have done that. I don't guess it'll hurt. So I'm going to make my landmass start a little lower on this just because I want to leave room for some good clouds. And this is pretty smooth because it's a long ways off. And so you're not going to see much of any detail. And here's the water line coming up to the land. There we go. Now I'm not even going to draw the clouds. So let's see what we can do next. I guess that shows. Oh, well, we've got a nice little something coming out here. It's more rocks. I think it's more than one rock there. Well, that's kind of a funny shape. I think I'll change it. What do I do with that line? Well, I can probably get it up with, I'm drawing very lightly here, so it'll come up with a art gum eraser pretty easily. So let's think about this part here. I want it to start, where the foam's going to come along, down here. Well, I may have run out of space there. I may cram some of that a little closer together. So here's a rock. I made that rock a little larger. That's okay. And then I want to stagger this rock right about over here. You know, you could even take a picture like this and cut it up in pieces and lay it out if you wanted to. But I'm sorry, it's hard to talk and draw at the same time. The thing is that when you're working with a landscape, especially like land, you could, okay, and see, this isn't going to come all the way down because this is going to be the bottom of the painting. Okay, here's water coming up over that, something like this. We got something like that going on. You know, we might even show a little bit of water coming right in there. And then over here we got more rocks. I may not need all these rocks. I'm drawing them pretty big. I'm drawing them so big that I may not have room for all of them. And then there's all this, see this water splashing in over here. Maybe, here's the thing. If I'm going to use, I'm taking my sweater off. If I'm going to use masking, I know that where I put the masking, it's going to pull up any lines that I draw. And what I want is just the highlights on this. So I've got some foamy areas here. I'm kind of wanting to do this because I'm in a drawing mood, which is probably why I decided to do this with you. But the thing is, you need to draw some of your own work. Drawing can be a real pleasure. And when you're doing a piece like this, or for that matter, when you're doing flowers, you can, you don't have to be exacting. I guess you don't have to be exacting when you're doing buildings either. I'm a little more intimidated by buildings. So maybe I want masking coming here. And oh, let's see, that rock didn't have any foam on it. Well, I guess it does now. So that's where some of the foam goes. And then over here, I'm going to have some foam. Have lots of foam. Splashing up and doing all kinds of things here. And it should have some holes in it too, by the way. You know, see those little deals there? Oh, those are priceless. That's like a reverse polka dot. And then, of course, we're going to have little uh, dots here. Well, my dots would run off the page over there, so I'll put some over here too. That's what I'll do. Okay, that's a beginning. So that's my start on this. And like I said, I am encouraging you. Let's see, do I need anything else in over there? No. I am encouraging you to do your own drawing rather than the tracing I sent you. But you're, of course, welcome to go either way with it. Okay, I have propped this up ever so slightly. I like something a lot steeper like this. It's a lot more fun, but it won't show up on camera very well. So we're doing this. So I have got my drawing here. Unfortunately, this isn't going to work with it very well. I want to get some of these ocean splatters and stuff going on here. So I think, if anything, this is going to be a real job of painting with some masking. I have, to start out with, I have a sponge here, a piece of a sponge, because I figure I'm going to ruin it. And this one is one that's sold in the Home Depot, like for texturing walls and stuff. So it's a great big sponge, but it's got big shapes in here. And I like that because it shows up better. Although I'm not sure it'll get me the shapes I want right there. Okay. And I have, some PBO that has aged. Hold on a minute. I really recommend using this brand, the PBO drawing gum. And I recommend buying it in small bottles. It doesn't go bad any faster than any of the others. I would buy all my masking in small bottles, unless I was someone who did a whole lot of masking or masked large areas. It's got a little bit of a film on the top, so it's not brand new anymore. Okay, so I've got this here so I can dip into it with this. There's nothing that upsets me more than to see where somebody took a sponge and went da 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 da, and it's just horrible. You got to use this sponge like you would a brush, selectively and thoughtfully. So this is going to be a throwaway when I get through with it. Okay, let's go out here where it's going to be pretty thick and see. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got some nice little edges here. I'm changing the direction as I'm working with it. Yeah, so this was all going to be, here I'm going in kind of solid with it, so I don't care which way I turn it really. See, that's not a repetitive looking pattern. Let's put a little more right there. Let's see where else, because we want this splashing. In fact, I want a few, whoops. So this is getting on here a little too thick, so I'm going to take a little of it off, and so that I don't get a big clumpy thing going here. And then I think this kind of goes that way. I'm going to work on that. I'm not going to leave that like that. But right now I'm just working to get some, I think I did again. Let's see. Okay, I have to stop there, and you'll see in a minute why. See the top of the rock? I'll put that part in with a brush. Most of the rest of this is not really splashed up. Maybe I'll just make one splashy area, right? Yeah, I don't know. maybe right there, because I like the feel of that. So when I go up over some of my lines, like where the rock is there, when I go up over some of those lines, when the masking comes up, that'll get rid of that. Okay, I'm probably through with this. Oh, I used up quite a lot because that sponge was soaking it up. It's another reason to use a small piece of sponge. Maybe you won't waste as much masking fluid. Okay, so I've got a big brush here. This is a, you don't need to run out and buy one of these, but this is a larger brush for acrylic or oil. It's a Master's Touch. It doesn't really matter, except that it's got a lot of spring to it. You could maybe use a toothbrush. I don't know. Let's see what happens here. I may have to take some of this up. Let's see if it even... Whoop, I'm not getting anything. Whoop, I didn't want that either. Okay, here's a few sprinkles. That's all I need, is just a little bit of froth here and there. I've got so much soap in that water that I dipped into that I'm getting foam on the end of my brush from doing this. Now, there may be some of this that I decide I want to take up later. I'm going to soak that up just because it's so thick it'll take it forever to dry. Okay. Now, wash that brush out. And get a different brush. I have to be real careful that I push the right button there, or I wind up ruining the video. Okay, so this is just another one of those Master's Touch little brushes. So right here, I want to conform to the shape of the rock. And let's see, where else? Well, I don't necessarily want these shapes out here to be quite like that. This area right here, if I do something like that, that's got a softer edge. And so I will probably come back and soften the edge on this when I pull this up. And I think I'll make this solid down here. You know, wouldn't mind a... Whoop. Well, that will have to come up. Maybe I'll just make a few dots. Boy, you got to be careful when you do that, because it's so easy for them to start looking planned and structured. Let's maybe make a little area right behind that rock to set that rock in front of this one. Wash that brush out. And I believe that I would like to pull that up. Oh. This dries pretty fast. Let's see if that dried yet. Yeah, well, you might want to not pull that up quite so soon if you do it. But what I'm wanting to do is make the splash go like in behind the rock. There. I think I'll make that a little more solid. Add a few like little dots and spots out around it, and oh, then we've got a whole lot more to do here. I forgot. Okay. Let's just pull this up so it'll be easier to get out of there in a minute. Now we've got, whoops. Oh, darn. You know what? I don't need to have this tilted yet. Okay. What we're going to do is make these areas, and you can see the water has motion, it flows over. And so it's flowing right in behind this rock. And I can make my brush strokes go the direction of the water. I'm making this mostly solid, but there will be a few little gaps that are left. And those little gaps will have the direction of my brush movement. And that will leave it looking like, you know what, I think this liner in this lid is soaking my masking up. And then I may have a few like little bits of more smaller, more horizontal movement out there. I give up on that. I'm just going to use the bottle. Remember to keep washing this brush out in between. So when you've got old masking fluid, it's best not to use it. I'm getting away with it here because a lot of it's not that old, but, well, some of it is. And here's where it's best not to have white masking fluid, because you can see what you're doing with this, and you really need to see it. So right here is kind of the edge of some of the water flow. Wash that brush out frequently. I'd say every 20 seconds minimum. I mean maximum. You should more often than that, really. See, now this is the back flow, so it doesn't have all the frothy bubbles and things. So see, I'm just making lines with my brush. Now I may come back and pick up some of this. I probably will pick that up right there. Some of the rest of this I may leave. So back off in the background, I want a little splash or two of, you know, water hitting the shore and bubbling up. I don't know if you call those bubbles or froth or what the technical term for that is. Somebody will have to let me know. It's not coming off of the brush like it should. I'm having to lay it on thicker because the mask got old. Whoops. Yeah, there's where all that masking went. Dear. Okay, so I have a scrap here. Well, doesn't look much like a scrap, but I'm going to call it a scrap. And I'm going to practice some clouds. I may or may not put this on the video. So, you know what? I already have this color in my palette, and I really like this. This looks a lot like the colors in the photo, actually. This is ultramarine, and here is ultramarine with phthalo green, blue shade. And I suppose I could use some cerulean too, just because it's easier to work with. Oh no, I think I'll use those and mix. All right, so let's get out some phthalo green because we need more of this. Oh, ouch, that's a lot. Boy, that stuff's strong. That doesn't look like anything you'd put in this picture, does it? And ultramarine. So that phthalo green is way stronger than that ultramarine. How am I going to paint clouds? You know, I'm not in the habit of painting clouds. I'm probably the last person on earth that ought to be demonstrating this for you. So we'll bungle through it together. Well, not that you would bungle, but I may. Okay, let's just play with this. Let's work on dry paper, and I'll just put some blue over here. We don't want to get that too dark anyway, but we need something that is not that green and not that blue. It kind of needs to have a little bit. Whoa, well, this stuff is strong, so oh my, that's pretty close right there. Too bad I didn't make more of it. Just a touch more. Okay, maybe that's enough. So here's the thing. These clouds, do they show up there? Can't tell. Here. I'll just hold it out here. Darn it. These clouds are darker on the bottom than the sky, and of course on the top they're lighter. And then there are places where they're kind of fading into the sky and a little darker. We'll see. So, okay, we'll turn this like this. That'll work, won't it? All right. Let's take some of this, and I'm just going to make a sky shape behind the clouds. Like, that's my clouds there. Oh dear. Well, let's do more of it because we would have to do more of it in the video. There. Let's say that that's some clouds. I don't know if I like that. So the edges look so hard and crisp. And I might just take a brush that's just barely damp. And as this starts to dry, I could come back in and work those edges, particularly because I've got it tilted this way. But see, I'm putting just a tiny, see, can you see that only the tip of this brush is touching that? That's just giving it a little bit of feathering. I only left a little bit of water on the very tip. However, this brush is replenishing it because down on the inside of this brush is probably still a little water left, and gravity is pulling it towards the tip. So I've got a self-renewing tip there. Isn't that cool? Needed more water over here. And I may not get all of these edges softened, but I'm not really killing them much or really softening them. I'm just barely affecting them. But it's enough to make it the difference between that stark edge and having no edge. Now, I didn't really plan to do that way. I didn't know what I was going to do till I saw it. So the bottom of the clouds look a little, they're not so puffy. They're a little more like straight areas. So I'm just working left to right here. And then I'm going to add a little water, and we're going to float on down happily into the mountains back there, or the land back there. It's not a mountain. Okay. The land mass. Okay. Well, that's nice. Now what? Let's add a little bit more blue to this. And then, excuse me, I need something to gray it some. What? I've got a little bit of orange over here. Oh, that's perfect. Let's get more orange. So you can see I'm picking up, it's just some leftover orange. Almost any orange will do. The trick is not to get too much of it. Or if we do, we'll have to add more blues. So that grayed it down and darkened it just a little bit. Oh, so I want to add these darks. I want it to be soft. I wouldn't mind doing it while that's moist. So what if I turn this way? I don't know. Oh, that's too dark. Just needs to be a little bit darker. Oh, now I need to pay attention to what's in my picture. See, this would be a good thing to rehearse. The other thing is you don't necessarily have to do it this way. Oh, that's running into this. Oh, that's not going to work. See, I told you I would mess up. So maybe I would do that, but I would let that get dry. And then you can put a little bit of shadows up under the cloud. See, maybe just pale little poofy things. And then more color here, but the trick is to let that dry. Or not. I wonder what this would look like if I didn't keep that edge there. That makes a new edge on the cloud, but that's not a bad edge. Now this, we're coming into a drier area, so we're getting something different here. And I could touch in a little bit more color where I've got moisture up in here. So that, oh, look what that did right here. That made more of a shadow, sort of a shadow on the shadow. I might like that. Let's add a little water down here. And so if this was dry, I came in and added that. I have to turn this right side up before I know what it looks like. And you could make, you know, the thing is, I mean, clouds could be a lot of fun to do, a lot of cloud paintings. But you could add a little bit of water into this as it's drying, you know, and make a few more like little puffy things, runbacks. But maybe it'll make like little puffy looking things because this is so pale. And that looks like there's, yeah, more shape in the cloud. I don't know if that's dry enough here. I think this is too wet to do it here much. That looks like something else in the foreground. That's not too bad. I'm really not happy with these tops, though. I don't know how to make them better. Oh, yes, I do. I do know how to make them better. Let's try this. Let's paint the clouds upside down. Okay, we'll start over. Some blue. And a little bit of green. A little bit more green. Oh. Let's get some more water in this. That's still not right. Let's get a little bit more green. Can't believe I'm adding this much green. I must have had it thinned out in my brush. So just keep working until I see the color I want. That's not it yet. And your color doesn't have to be like mine. You can get a color that you like. Okay, so I didn't like that the tops of the clouds just looked a little too hard, a little too harsh. So I'm going to try working them upside down on this slant. That's going to make them softer just because before the color was running down this way and making a darker hard edge down there. And now you want cloud shapes. Those don't look like cloud shapes. They've got to be kind of poofy and no jagged. You don't want jagged things on the tops of your clouds. Okay. So if I do this, and then I come back and soften the edge, just barely, whisper, touch it. Is this on camera? Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. Now, that's clouds. It's got to be moist, and you've got to have just almost nothing in your brush. And I'm kind of pulling it along. I'm not jabbing my brush down this way because I've got a round brush here and I don't want to damage the point. Now that's cloud. Well, this isn't. I guess I better keep an eye on it a minute. You know how watercolor is. You can't trust it when you turn your back. My, my, my. Now that's a soft, poofy cloud. I did it! Okay, so let's go back to the underneath. It's the same color, but actually it gets lighter as it goes down. You know, as you go up in the sky, you get more color. And as you go down, you have less. And then the bottoms of these clouds, remember, you're making more like little horizontal strokes that you are then going to connect horizontally. And then you're going to pull that down this way on into your landmass, if we had a landmass here. And so, let's turn that this way. Or I could turn it the other way. Yeah, I could have worked it just the other way. And you could leave some of these edges hard. You don't have to soften every one of these edges. That's so cool the way this works, because this brush is staying just the right amount of moisture at the tip, because some of it's running down Gravity is our friend. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. I need a break anyway. Okay, here's the plan. You don't need to watch me do this twice. I'm going to go this far with the clouds. Didn't put the bottom part in yet. I'm going to go this far with the clouds on our actual project. So when I come back, that's where we'll be. We'll have the beginnings of the clouds and the sky in. And then, so I will put another small video up in the morning. I've run over. I've got quite a bit of time on this video, so I need to go ahead and download it. So this will be step 1, and then I'll do a little step 2 tomorrow morning to fill it out.